All right. So again, thank you all so much for having me. We got several cadres going on tonight because we keep things really busy. There are a lot of teachers that jump on here, and we love that you spend your afternoons with us so many times during the week. It really shows that you continue to want to learn and hone your craft, and that is so appreciated for kids throughout Kentucky. So thank you again. Big pat on the back for you. Some of you were in probably Christopher Zarr's session. He says it's been about 6 weeks ago. I wasn't able to be in that session, but I'm tickled to be here with you all today. I'm going to read a little biography, and then I'm going to let you get started, Chris. And if you have anything else, just please let me know. And tell me if anything has changed. But you're still an education specialist at National Archives, teaching U.S. and world history to high school students in New Jersey. So that was your previous
Hmm.
slide, is that right?
Yep.
But now he helps teachers, students, and the general public discover ways to learn from primary sources through educational materials and workshops, social media, exhibitions. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree in history, political science, and master's in social studies in education, and all from Rutgers.
Hmm.
So, Christopher, that is a really quick introduction, but I'm going to give you plenty of time to get started. And thank you so much for being with us. If you need anything, you let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everybody. So glad to be with you, with everybody again today. Um, Again, my name is Christopher Zarr. I'm an education specialist with the National Archives. I've been with the archives for 14 years now, and I've been running Docs Teach now for the past year or so. Prior to that, I was doing a variety of other programs as well, but so glad to be with you. We were together in mid-January for about an hour or so, and we kind of gave a quick little intro to Docs Teach and a little bit about the archives in general. Today was kind of meant to be more of a follow-up, a refresher of some of the aspects, because we kind of went through things a little bit quickly, to highlight a couple other features, and then to kind of hear about, if you've used the site, in the past 6 weeks, any issues you had, or any things you were wondering about, or something that you might have missed during the last presentation. So it's a little bit more open than the last session, but I'll start with a quick refresher of some of the basics of it. I'll try to highlight some things that I don't think I really got to last time as well, and still give people some chances to explore the website, to become a little bit more familiar with it, because in an hour, or even today, I had 2 hours. I was talking with teachers who were part of the DoD EA schools, actually at Fort Knox. So I guess they were located not too far from from you guys. But even in 2 hours, it's a lot of information, a lot of different things we could share. So to give you a little reminder of what the National Archives is, we are the federal government agency responsible for preserving historic documents, documents of the federal government, of the three branches, the executive branch and the presidential records, congressional records, and court records. We have literally billions of pieces of paper in our collection that date back from the founding of our country all the way through today, where we're taking in, billions and billions of terabytes, of billions of different files, terabytes of data. And it's our mission to protect and preserve these records and provide access to them. And it's our civic educational mission to really help teachers and students be able to access those materials. And we do that in a variety of ways, different educational programs, teacher workshops, programs for students. But our big educational product is docsteach.org, which is our online tool for teaching with primary source documents. I guess maybe if you want to type in the chat, or by show of, I don't know if you can raise hands here. Has anyone used DocsTeach since the last session? If you want to type yes or no in the chat, or Y or N. Let's see how you guys have been using it since we last spoke. I'm going to kind of do a quick refresher of how to search, how to find things as well, and maybe get a little bit deeper into some of the different types as well. Comparison activity of the Boston Massacre. That's great. That's great. That's a good one. Okay, so if you remember, DocsTeach is a place where you can find primary source documents. It's a place where you can find document-based activities, and it's where you can also create or modify activities that exist in the platform, and or create your own activity from scratch. So just a quick refresher on searching for documents. You can type in a search term to bring up results. It could be very specific, very general. You can look for even types of documents without searching for a term. You can look at historic maps. If you want to look at historic maps from the early 20th century, you can filter that pretty easily. If you search for a term like immigration, you can find hundreds of results. If you narrow down those results, it becomes a little bit more manageable. And if you click on any of those documents, you have the title here. You can print it out. You can download it. You can zoom into the document. We try to make sure we have as high resolution of a version of the image as we can. There's some background information and a citation available here as well. And if you are logged into an account, you can start searching. You can start creating activities or adding particular documents into folders, and you can share those with your students. Somebody else, co-teacher, so somebody else did the same Boston Massacre activity. Some maps from the battles of the Revolution. Oh, that's great. Yeah, there are a lot of really interesting maps in our collection from that early on. Now, if you're, this is a free resource. So if you haven't, even if you might have shared these activities with your students without having an account, but if you have an account, you can start making your own folders, making your own activities. You can add a document by clicking on star to a folder, either a brand new one or a folder you might have already created. And then you can share that with your students. Students do not need an account for DocsTeach. You do need an account if you want to start creating activities or folders. So, just kind of a short little refresher on how to search, how to find different documents in DocsTeach. And then the other side of the website is activities. Looks like we're kind of in that American Revolution era, at least in a couple classes. So, you can filter by time period, and you'll see a handful of different activities, some that use one primary source document, some that use a whole large series of them. And the activities come in all these different types as well. So if I click on one of these, it gives you the title. It tells you what activity type it uses, some background, how to incorporate this into your classroom. And then there's a link here for the actual student activity. Okay, and this one is a pretty good one. It's a Boston Tea Party image analysis is the title for teachers. On the student side, since we're trying to obscure some information with this zoom crop tool, you're only seeing part of an image. So that the title is A Road to Independence, what event is shown. And students have to look for details. They can switch the view to get even more details. They can view the entire document and they'll get the title of a destruction of tea at Boston Harbor. But from the beginning, they're trying to look for things. What do I see? What I think? Questions I have before really getting a full sense of what this activity is. So those are the two main parts of DocsTeach: searching for documents and then searching for activities that are out there. already. And again, we're kind of always adding new documents to it. We're always adding new activities. Teachers are adding way more activities than we could ever add. But I thought I would give, we had a little bit of time last session, but to give a little bit of time now for you to search around on the document side and or on the activity side, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, let's say 7 minutes. And through this, or if you've used it again over the past month and a half or so, if you have any specific questions about a particular topic that's available or not available, or a particular feature of an activity, today is really meant to be a refresher, kind of a working session where I can provide a little bit more hands-on direction if there are some specific concerns. So I thought I'd give, it's 4:12 right now, maybe until 4:20. If you want to take a few minutes to search around on the document side, search around on the activity side, and then when we come back, I'll show you a couple other features of the website, and I'll try to walk through as well how to create an activity and assign activities to your students if you're using DocsTeach. Okay, so let's take 7-8 minutes, search around, and we'll share out any questions or thoughts we have. On either the document side or the activity side. Anybody want to share something they found or a question they had or something else I can kind of refresh how to do? You can either unmute yourself for a small group or you can type in the chat, either way.
I found an activity on loyalists and patriots because we just got done talking about the events leading up to the war and
Sure.
loyalists and patriots too.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I know that. See if I can find it. That might be a teacher created activity. Is it this one?
Yep, that one.
Okay. Oh, it's weird that's not showing anything there. What was a patriot? Why did people become patriots? Oh, and then they have this image, which actually is from the archives. But this is one of the things that you can do in DocsTeach. This person uploaded this document from another place, even though this is in our collection. and then is using the analyzing documents tool. So I don't know if that was something I shared last time. When DocsTeach first launched, you didn't really have the ability to use material from other places. It had to be a National Archives document. But for like the first 6 or 7 years, so many people asked, like, this is, you know, such, you know, interactive features and everything. There's nothing out here for other stuff. Is there a way to include outside documents? And for the longest time, we had to say no. But now it is something that you can do. In this case, this document actually is in our collection too. But, you know, if you find something at another place from the Library of Congress or the Smithsonian, you can upload that image into an activity. It won't be available for searching for documents. And you'll just have like this little note below it. This document is uploaded by the author and it's from outside the holdings of the National Archives. This is something to kind of keep in mind as you are doing all these different sessions with all these different types of institutions, that you don't have to use something from the archives to use DocsTeach. Maybe I'll show that later. Why it looks like this, I'm not 100% sure. It should have that little thumbnail of the image. I might go into some of the admin features later so you can actually tell what this document is. I mean, it looks similar to what this image is, if not identical, right? It's like a mirror image of it, I think. But cool, thank you so much for sharing that. We use this image for visual thinking activity. Yeah, that's a great way when you're introducing primary source documents, especially with younger kids, but, you know, kids of all ages. You know, what do you see? What do you think it means? What makes you say that? Really kind of open-ended observation type questions. And it's kind of similar to how our document analysis questions work as well. Any other activities or documents that you found now or that you found or used between last session and this session? So we'll still have opportunities to share things again. This might be a good time to show a couple other features. And since we were just looking at activities, let's start there. Again, there are 12 different activity types in DocsTeach. The one that we just saw is using this analyzing documents tool, which is probably the easiest one for you as a teacher to create. It takes the questions straight from our document analysis forms. It just populates it right below whatever primary source document you want to include. And then there are a few that are also pretty basic: discussion topic and compare and contrast, just some questions underneath a document. Zoom crop, whiteout, blackout, and spotlight are good activities. I like zoom crop and whiteout, blackout a little bit better because you kind of turn any document into a little bit of a mystery for students to uncover. It kind of builds interest that way. You obscure some of the information, like we saw briefly with that Boston Tea Party image that I shared, and really, you know, force students to look at different details. And especially if you're working with younger students, sometimes a large map or a large document, a large photograph might be so much for them to take in all at once. If you give just a small little section of it, it makes it a little bit easier for them to identify and work with. And then there are longer activities, ones that focus on sequence skills or how documents are connected to each other. The role that geography and place relates to different events and different primary sources. Seeing the big picture as a matching activity between different documents and different descriptions, and there's some really good ones there as well, across the grade levels. Weighing the evidence is great for arguments, might be a little bit more middle school or high school, but if you have two sides of an issue and you want your students to look at different primary sources that help support either of those sides. And then interpreting data is one where you have a graph, a chart, some piece of quantitative information, and you can ask your students to really dive in deep to work with that particular primary source. Now, I think I'm going to show how to modify an activity. So I saw a few people mentioned the Boston Massacre. So I'm going to bring up the one that we made, which is comparing depictions of the Boston Massacre. You see there are a bunch of other ones here that other teachers have created, either by copying ours and changing some of the questions, or taking the same basic ideas. But I'm going to work off of ours. Now, if you found an activity, let's say you checked it out. So you choose one of three artistic depictions, the Boston Massacre, analyze the artwork using the questions below. What do you see? What do you think is happening? And this has use of the compare and contrast tool, so you can kind of go back and forth between these different versions. And then there's a question here, based on your analysis, answer the following. And then it tells them, after looking at the first three, go to the fourth one and compare that, because this one was made during the time. Now, if you like this activity, again, you could just share it with students. And on the teacher page, it begins with a discussion of what a massacre is, and different contextual information. But if you like this, but you want to change it a little bit, if you hit the copy icon here, you can make a copy of the activity. I'm going to add it to my default classroom. This original activity will stay here and will be fine, but the copy will be one that we will work with. So comparing depictions of the Boston Massacre copy. So I'm going to go into here. And I think when I was with you guys last time, I showed you how to make an activity from scratch. It's kind of the same thing when you are modifying an activity. The only difference is some of this information is available here. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to give it another title about the Boston Massacre. It's taking a second. Okay. And then within this activity, it's kind of half set up. You can see the different images are here. But maybe for whatever reason, in my class, I only wanted them to look at 2 versions. So I could X out the versions I didn't want them to work with, maybe just for time reasons. Maybe you wanted to, model doing this one, then have them work on this one individually, however you wanted to. And then there's some discussion questions that are right below the image. So maybe I will write my own discussion questions. I'm going to hit save. You go to the next tab, which are student instructions. To change it, you're going to choose, view the first image of the Boston Massacre created decades later and analyze it using the question below. What do you see? What do you think is happening? After analyzing, discussing this illustration, compare it to the second image. Hit save. Okay. Next step is to make a little snapshot of it. Since I changed the activity, I should do that. And I'll go to this tab. The one thing that gets taken out of the activity, though, you can always go back into the version you took it from and cut and paste some of the text, but the text of this teacher instructions gets eliminated. You can always, again, take from it, but so new instructions for teachers, step-by-step details, and then my historical era, thinking skill, level of blooms, and maybe I changed this so much. This was originally, I think, an upper elementary activity, but now we're looking at 2 documents. I changed the questions a little bit. It's more appropriate even for lower elementary. And then I hit save. If I want to see how the activity looks, I can click view student activity. And you can see now there are only these 2 images here, my own discussion questions. I didn't change the final question. I changed this illustration. So it's a different activity that makes sense for my class and my students. Right now, no one can see it except for you. If I hit publish, then it would be available for other people to see. I actually will hit publish so you can see how that looks. And now it exists here under my activity in my default folder, but maybe I want to make a new folder to put it in. So right now you have to go all the way to the bottom, something I kind of want to change. Maybe I'm making, I'll make an American Revolution activities folder. I'm just putting 1 so it's higher up in the list. And then I can take this activity that I created, which is in my default folder. Mine's super messy. You won't have hundreds of activities to work with, at least at first. And then move it to my American Revolution activities folder. So now if I search for it, here is the American Revolution activities folder. It makes a link that you could share with other teachers. It makes a link that you could share with your students as well. If you had a bunch of different activities for the revolution, all in one spot, you could share this folder on your Google Classroom, or if you use a different learning management system, just by sharing the link to it there. And now other teachers can even find it. So if I search for, not documents, but if I search for activities, and see, get another title about the Boston Massacre, my new instructions, my step-by-step details, and you can see if you do, use an activity or you find an activity that somebody made, if they based it on another one, you can kind of go up and see what that original one was, which is good. Like, oh, I like this activity, but I might like this version of it better. So just a little bit about how you can modify an activity. That's like one of the things I think really sets DocTeach apart, because you can use it. I'm going to go in and unpublish it just so I don't have another version out there. But you can make an activity that you find your own. Make it fit, with the requirements and the of your grade level and how the standards talk about that particular topic. So you can find something really, really close to what you needed to do, and then modify it, change it, make the most sense for your students in your class. Does that make sense? Any questions about all that? Let me know in the chat if there's any part of that that needed some clarification. Okay, I do want to show maybe 2 more parts. One thing I don't think I shared last time. Sounds easy enough, good to know. Is we do have a series of special topics pages. Whenever there's a major exhibit that comes out from the archives, or an anniversary, or just even related to major themes and topics that we know teachers are teaching all the time, we create like a special landing page for that topic, and it just makes DocTeach a little bit more manageable if you're learning about a particular topic. You don't have to find, search specifically among the thousands of documents there. You can really find exactly what it is you're looking for. So we have them for topics like the Constitution, the amendment process, the American Revolution. Maybe I'll show that one. World War I, World War II, American Indians. Some of these are about exhibits, like What Americans Eat and Making Their Mark were 2 exhibits that the archives had in the DC area. So those were made to support that. Same thing with this sports All-American. There's a big exhibit in DC about that topic right now. And then one that's probably our most popular one is related to National History Day. This is one that we update every year. When the topic for History Day changes, we put new documents, new activities in it to help support teachers and their students who are doing that research project. But if you find any of these, like the American Revolution one, it basically links directly out to different primary sources, different activities that were created related to that particular topic or theme. So, if you click on any of these, like if you click on Declaring Independence, it'll bring up 100 primary source documents that have been tagged related to declaring independence. If you picked up forming a government, things are tagged New Nation. You can see laws, some of the early acts of Congress, etc., images of some of the founding fathers. And then on this side, this links out to the activities that exist. And obviously you can find these same things if you searched within DocTeach to find them, but this is even a little bit easier. So it's like, oh, there's these are, and these will only give you the ones that were created by National Archives educators. So, if you're looking for something that focuses on American symbols, this is an activity that uses the zoom crop tool and the Great Seal of the US. So just a little bit easier to navigate if you have, you happen to be teaching that particular topic. And then once you go down one level into the activity or into the documents, you're kind of, back to where you were with the website. So nothing different there. And, for sports, we have it right now. There's an exhibit in DC about the power of sports. So there's all these links to several hundred sports related documents that we added, and then things about the Olympics, about boxing. And again, it just does an automatic search for all those terms. And the most popular one is our National History Day one. This year's theme is Frontiers in History, People, Places, and Ideas. And same thing. I think this page between June and December had like 70,000 page views. So a lot of teachers and students were using this. It's really, I think, helpful early on as students are kind of brainstorming what their particular topic might be. A good place to kind of think about different types of activities. So that's another feature of it. We're always adding new landing pages as well to kind of support other major themes. We're kind of in the process now of making a civics related one. That's kind of in a bunch of the other ones already, but big one specifically focused on civics and civics related issues. So that should be up relatively soon. Okay. Any questions about the landing pages?
It is a quiet group, but I think if they have a question, they'll definitely jump in.
Okay, one more thing I want to share. And this is pretty helpful if your students are doing some research for some project, whether it's History Day or something else in DocsTeach. There's a way you can use DocsTeach even as a teacher. If you find a particular document and you want to be able to find out more, if there's anything else that relates to it in the National Archives collection, you can use DocsTeach as kind of an easy way to get into the National Archives catalog. And that's part of it is because DocsTeach is still, it's 13,000 primary sources, which is a lot. But right now, the National Archives catalog has, well, when I started working with the archives in 2008, there were like 250,000 documents in the catalog, and that sounded overwhelming. I think within like 2 or 3 years, we passed 1 million or 2 million. So that was like in the early 2010, 2011. Just this past year, the catalog passed 200 million images. And within the next 3 years, they expect it's going to go over 500 to be like 560 million images. So it can be very overwhelming, even for a person who works for the archives, to find what it is they're looking for. And for a teacher or student, even more so. So, if you're looking, I know we have some people again with American Revolution topics. So maybe I should look at that. If you found a document like this Boston Massacre image, you can use the National Archives identifier number. So right here, it tells you a full citation for the document, where it comes from, physically where it's located, even information about the link that you're at and the date. But it gives you a link here to the catalog. And if you click on that, it'll bring up the same image in the catalog. It might tell you more about it, but probably not. But what you can use that's helpful is that it tells you that this image, the Boston Massacre, is an item. That's how they are, one item, one document, one photograph, one lithograph is described at the most, at the item level, is part of a series of materials. It's actually probably also in a folder unit of materials that's part of a series, which is part of a record group. So it just kind of gives you a sense of from one item up to the huge collection. So if I click on the series here, it'll tell me that that one item is part of the historical photograph files of the Bureau of Public Roads. And this collection is partially digitized. So not everything in this physical collection has been scanned, but there are over 24,000 digital objects available here. And what we've done with DocsTeach, when this collection got digitized, we had staff, we had interns, some volunteers. who would go through this and try to find, interesting examples of documents, but we would never, A, we don't have the time, and B, we don't have the interest to add all 24,000 examples, even in just this one folder. Even 24,000 is probably not what the actual, there probably are even more out there. I mean, it literally takes up, it says it's 309 linear feet of space. So you can imagine like boxes on shelves, 309 cubic feet of space, like rows and rows of bookcases of just photographs in this one collection. But I can go here and click and search within this series. And now I'm in that collection, 26,000 images. If I wanted to look for other images about Boston, I might be able to find different things. There's 127 results, images of the Boston State House, the Boston Massacre, Boston Custom House, another Boston Massacre. I think most of the Boston Massacre ones are actually in DocsTeach. But even if I didn't want to find something directly related to that, I could type in Kentucky, and there are 100 results. These might be, a lot of these might be ones that they are currently digitizing, but let's see. And a little bit more recent than the Boston Massacre material, but you have this toll bridge in Kentucky. Hard to tell where it actually is. Doesn't give you really any details. And why that Boston Massacre image is in the Bureau of Public Roads records, I have no idea. But this is an image from, I think, now that it would have a clue if it told us what year it is, but it doesn't. But there's a map, lots of bridges. A map of Kentucky bridges. We can combine our maps and our bridges. Oh, so you have your load capacities. Kids love learning about load capacities of bridges. But regardless, you could use that one item to be able to find a whole bunch of other materials that are in that same collection. And here, 1830. This is not a photograph, obviously, but some sort of drawing or lithograph that they took an image of. And it's the opening of the Maysville Turnpike, 1830. Maysville Turnpike in Kentucky, toll gate opening 1830, painting sent to California roadshow. So the painting is from the 1930s. But this photograph was taken by the Department of Public Roads and showing the opening of that event. So, just something else to think about. You could use, if you find something in DocsTeach, that's a really big and wide collection. But if you find something in DocsTeach, you might be able to use it to find even more materials in the catalog. And if you ever find anything in the catalog that you'd want to include in a DocsTeach activity, you can upload it separately, or just literally let me know and I will add documents. We hear from teachers all the time and students who either have attended programs or have done some research on their own, and they're want to include a document that's in the catalog and add it into DocsTeach. So that's just kind of a little trick to make it a little bit more easy to navigate and to be able to find, potentially hundreds or thousands of related images by using DocsTeach to search in the catalog. So that's basically all I have for today. Just want to again give a little refresher, highlight some of the other features that I don't think we really had time to get to last time. But if you have any questions now or after today, I'm going to put my email address in the chat.
It's a really good time to ask questions or, garner some ideas, that sort of thing. But what I love, Christopher, is what a lot of our presenters do is make yourself available,
Of
you know,
course.
outside of this, because lots of times you dig into it. That's what I've been doing, is trying to dig around a little bit, and you come across questions, or hey,
Right,
help
of
me
course.
think. Yeah, help me think through how I might use this or whatever. I'm sure that you would be available for that.
Yeah, that's what literally every day I'm helping teachers who are, you know, working in Doc Sheets trying to find something, or trying to make a part of a different activity work. So my email address is right in the chat there. Jackie, I think you might have cut and paste a link to an activity and not the evaluation.
Oh,
But
I did. Thank you.
that is a good activity.
I did actually cut and paste that. I thought I'm going to use that in something else we're doing.
Oh, good. Good.
I'm glad you said that. Let me find my. That was actually a really good trick to get you all to look at that. But here is the evaluation link. And as you all know, you can probably find, I did it again, I think. What's going on here? All right. Anybody have any questions before we go? There we are.
Now that has to be a link to an evaluation.
Finally, your questions are, can Jackie post the link?